Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So this week I celebrate the 13th anniversary of my first time going on a date with myself. And it was a very pivotal moment in my life. If I had to talk about the top 10 days in my life, it's up there for sure. It may not be the number one day of my life. And it's very pivotal for both the event and for how it interacts with other aspects of my life. 13 years ago, I was working on my PhD, and in the spring of 2010, I got myself into a toxic relationship. The girl was taking advantage of me, and part of the reason I let things get out of hand like that was because I didn't know what life was like after breakup, and I didn't want to experience that. I also fell for what economists call a sunk cost fallacy. I felt like I had spent so much effort on her that I'd have nothing to show for it if I left. I still have that problem with dating, unfortunately. Part of the reason, if you guys have been watching my videos as of late, I've been hesitating on asking this girl out on a date because the last couple of times I dated, the relationships ended in a sunk cost spiral. They spiraled out of control in terms of the time and effort involved in them. Certainly I didn't mess up my job like I did 13 years ago, but they spiraled into an emotional sunk cost drain, and I don't want that to happen again. Anyways, I almost dropped out of school 13 years ago this week, and I lost my life savings up until that point. I didn't have a whole lot, thank God, right? Had I lost my life savings today, it'd be a whole different story, right? But I lost my life savings up until that point. To give you an idea, I now have more in bismuth than I did back then as my life savings as a whole. So, very different story back then. In just bismuth, right? Which is my number two asset holding, if you can believe it. Bismuth metal at the moment. So, I hesitated on breaking up with the girl because there was a coin show that I wanted to go to on June 13th of 2010. I frantically looked for another girl to take to that coin show, and I didn't find anybody, and I almost didn't want to go to that coin show. I was trying to catch up on school anyway, so I thought, okay, it's no big deal, maybe another time. I was tempted to call the girl again to rekindle things, but I remembered the last couple of times I did that, it ended up in a disaster. I woke up on June 13th, it was a Sunday, and so the weather out there was very nice. If you want to look up the weather, it's June 13th, 2010 in Rochester, New York. I was riding my bicycle at the time. My car was broken. I didn't have money to fix it because the girl had been taking advantage of me, and the car was sitting at the campus. I was going to school at Rochester Institute of Technology. I can't remember the details. I needed new tires or maybe a new battery. Nothing significant, but the girl was spending all my money. And I rode my bicycle to the coin show, and I had the best time of my life. I went to the coin show with the idea that maybe I could meet somebody there, and instead I had the best time of my life going out by myself. And I learned that I could go to a movie by myself, go out to my favorite restaurant by myself. And I came to the conclusion, and sometimes I call this my other PhD thesis, I came to the conclusion that with the exception of having biological children, everything you could do with the partner, you could do without, right? I sometimes call that statement my other PhD thesis because I discovered it, and it was a pretty big discovery for me at the time. Probably not a novel concept as far as human knowledge is concerned, but for me it was, right? Now, one of the nice things about that is ever since 13 years ago, I never got taken advantage of by a girl ever again because I had the ability to walk out of anything that isn't going right. Sometimes I get suckered into these sunk cost fallacies, though. I get involved with a girl and put too much of my life into that position, right? So, for example, just before COVID, I had a girlfriend, and her family wanted us to get married, and it wasn't like I didn't have a life outside of her, but I committed so much of my thoughts to her that the idea of even keeping some distance between her just became foreign, if you will. The thing is, the funny thing is that after the disaster I had 13 years ago, I asked God for just one favor. I told God, if He ever sees me in the wrong relationship, to do something to cause us to separate for whatever reason, right? Whether it be a life event or maybe even an illness or something, to just do something to cause us to separate. Well, 10 years later, I think God wasn't ready for the two of us, and He kept us 6 feet apart. So it all played out beautifully. Anyways, 3 more days, it's my anniversary. I wish it were more acceptable to go out by yourself. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hold a contest. Everybody who wants to go out by yourself, do it on June 13th. We're going to put a video together, and the first 100 people who do this, and we're going to put a video together. I'm going to send you a bismuth crystal, but you got to upload it by next weekend, and so we can put a video together, a montage of all the different solo sexual dates that everybody has got on. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.